Hello everyone. So today we are going to continue from where we left off last time. Okay. So last time what we studied was the difference between. We went on to the topic of algebra, right? And we studied a little bit about the difference between an equation and an expression, right? We studied if we have an equation, right? What do? We find a solution to that. And if we, in case we have an expression, what do? We find, okay, so in case where we have an expression, we tend to simplify it to the best possible way, right? We went through with some of the ways in which we can simplify things, right? So that is what we're going to continue off from. Okay, now we're going to see the term inequalities. All right, so how do we solve inequalities? And yeah, inequalities, right? So I'm sorry. So what are inequalities? All right, now inequalities might mean that in case of inequalities you might see some of the symbols. I'm going to tell you what exactly that they mean. All right, you might see this sign, equals to, but equals to is not used in this regard. There's something known as this used or this used. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, so it's very simple that if we have this symbol right here, then anything that's here is greater than whatever is here. Okay, and it's greater than that. It's not equal. It's not equal to 5. It's greater than 5. X can be any value which is greater than 5. It could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on to any positive number, right? And if it's written x is like this, so x is lesser than 5, right? So any value which is lesser than 5, it could be 4, 3, it could be 2, it could be 1, it could be 0, and so on to the negative side. It's very simple. Imagine if you imagine a straight line, yeah, like the number line, right? And if I say that this is 0 and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And now I have this on the top and I'm moving backwards. So x is less than 5. So any number that comes in between, it's -1, -2, everything is included, right? And what's this? If I draw it again with different color. Okay, so I'm deliberately keeping it empty. Can you tell me the difference between why I'm keeping it empty and if I did not keep it empty? So, what do? If we do not keep it empty, then um, what is that? Right? If I fill it up, what does it mean? Right? So, if I fill it up, it means that I'm also including this thing into the sequence. Okay, so that would mean that x is less than equals to 5, right? It could be 5, it could be 4, 3, 2, 1, but it could be 5 as well. So that's the difference filling this thing up means. All right, now if I tell you that zero I have 0, 1, 2, 3, and now I say that I have an inequality x is greater than equals to -1. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that I have a number sequence from, right, I draw my inequality like this line over this circle over -1, and then stretch it to all those values that are greater than -1, right? And if I fill this up or not? As I've just said, what does it indicate? So do I fill this up or not? Quickly, everyone, do I fill this up or not? All right. So as I've written that x is greater than equals to 1, that means I have the values from -1, 0, 1, 2, and then so on, right? So -1 is also included. That's why I'm going to shade this as well. All right. I hope you guys are clear with this regard, right? Um, all right. Moving on, we're gonna come up with some of the topics. One of the things in inequalities that matters a lot, and to how to solve the equation. All right, now let's say I have given minus all right, so 7 is less than equals to 2x plus 5 is less than 20 20x plus 6. So in some of the cases they might ask you find the range of x. So if I want to find the range of x, what do? I just use this. Okay, so before we move on to this question, I think this question involves a bit of toughness. Okay, with regard to there are a lot of things that needs to be explained before this question. All right, so let's move it aside for a minute and let's focus on a very simpler question. So now I have 8 is greater than -3x plus 7. Okay, now what they're asking you is find the range of x. So what do? You simplify it. In the simplification process, you use the sign as you would have used an equals to sign, right? You, like if you have 8 over here and then this. So if I let's imagine that I have nothing but equals to over here. Okay, so what would I do? My equation would be 8 equals to 3x plus 7, right? So in this case, what will I do? I will move my 3x over here and I will move my 8 over here, right? So it's going to become 3x equals to -8 plus 7, right? And now what I'm going to do, I am going to divide my 3x. I'm going to divide my 3x with -1, right? So -1 divided by 3. Now I will replace it back with the original inequality. So it will be what? X is greater than -1 over 3. Alright, so all those values which are greater than 1 over 3 are included. So that's the range that we are talking about. Okay, that's the range that we are talking about. Do you understand this? All right. Does everybody understand this? Now, let's move head on to more difficult portion. Okay. So now that you have three inequalities together and you need to find the value of x. Sorry, the range of x. So what do? You first take the first two, right? And 2x plus 5. All right, so what do? You take 5 to the other side, right? 7 minus 5 is less than 2x, right? Now the value of x would be 2 over 2, so it would be 1. So x is basically greater than 1, right? X is greater than 1. We've got the first inequality. Now let's do both of these together. So it's going to be 2x plus 5 less than 20x plus 6, right? So if I just um, move both of these to the other side, or maybe move 2x to the other side and then 6 to this side, okay, what will it become? What will it become? It will become 5 minus 6 equals, oh sorry, 5 minus 6 is less than 20x minus 2x. All right, it's a greater sign, not equals to sign. I was just telling you that it is, when we are solving an equation, we can use it as an equals to sign, right? We are going to perform every function like we did when we used equals to sign. So that's the difference I was talking about. It is not actually an equals to sign, right? So right now I'm not replacing it with anything, now that you know what the operation is, right? So negative 1 is greater than, okay, so it's going to be 18 over here. So the final answer would be x is greater than negative 18, right? Negative 18. So here I have two greater than values, so what do? Okay, so now I'm gotten, I have to write it together, right? I have to write it together. So what do? 8 is, now if I plot it, on a straight line, now if I plot it on a straight line, what does it mean? I have 0 over here, I have minus 1 over here, right? So it means that I have some value, negative 1 over 18 somewhere around here. Okay, so it's saying that x is greater than this, right? So this is where the number line would be going. Now I have 1 over here, so now it's saying that it is greater than 1 as well. So what do in this regard? Okay, so the final answer for the range of this question would be, to find out the value of x, what I'd do is I'd use the, this is a trick now. Okay, so the trick is that you use the lower value. Okay, you write it as negative 1 over 18. Okay, so now x is greater than that and x is lower than 1. So this thing is now the domain. Okay, this thing is now um, the domain for this question. Okay, this thing is now the range of the question. Do you understand this? Okay, so is there any question? If you have any question, kindly let me know. Now I think everything is clear to you guys. All right, so let's move ahead and do some questions. All right, let's move ahead and do some questions. Now I'm going to explain it with graph as well. The inequalities question, I'm going to explain it with graph as well right now. So do not worry about it, alright? So now you have a question like this. Okay, I hope everyone can see the question. Solve the inequality x minus 2 divided by x plus 5 is greater than 2. Now what does it mean? Alright, so what does it mean? It means that x minus 2 divided by x plus 5 is greater than 2. Now we simplify it. Okay, so how do we simplify it? We move this to the upper side. It's going to be 2 times x plus 5, right? It's going, and now further it's going to be 2x plus 10, right? Now x is going to move to the other side and 10 is going to move to this side. So it's going to be negative 2 negative 10 is greater than 2x minus x, right? It's going to be negative 12 is greater than x, or in other words, x is lesser than negative 12. So these two things can be written interchangeably, right? So negative 12 is greater than x. That means um, all those values, negative 12 is greater than x, so it can be written as x is lesser than negative x. Negative 12. X is lesser than negative 12, right? So all those values which are lesser than 12, negative 12, right, are going to be included in this. So that's how you do graph questions. Oh, sorry, simplify the questions. All right. Now, if I show you, now let's come on to the questions of graph. All right. Now, graph questions are comparatively really easier. Okay, so it's basically linear lines being drawn together. So let's say that you have a graph. I'm gonna roughly sketch a graph over here. Okay, so now this is a y-axis, all right, and this is an x-axis, all right. One, two, three, four, five. And maybe use this. Okay, I'll use this image. All right. Now, if I have one line like this, okay, so I have one line drawn like this, right? And now I have one line drawn like this. So I have one line drawn like this. Okay, like this. All right. Now I have one more line drawn like this. Okay, now these three lines have confined a region for me. I found out a region for me. So what's the region? This is the region. Okay, now I'm asking you, the question says, thus find the inequalities, find the equations, find the equations, or maybe find the inequalities, that uh, that confines R. Okay, so now we have to find all the inequalities that confine the value R, the region R. Okay, that confines the region R. So what do? We say that we know we need to find out the equation for all of these lines. Okay, so this horizontal line, the equation for a horizontal line is the y at which it crosses, right? So the equation for this line is y equals to 2, right? The equation for this line is, what's the equation for this vertical line? Okay, so the equation for this line is y equals to, oh sorry, the equation for this line is x equals to 0. Okay, the equation for this line is x equals to 0. So right now what you just need to remember is that any vertical line, right, any vertical straight line is going to be, the equation of a vertical straight line is going to be at x which it passes from. Okay, let's say it passes from 5, so we're going to write down its equation as x equals to 5. Okay, and if it, for a horizontal line, okay, so for a horizontal line, what it does is it's going to, the value of this equation would be the y at which it passes from. So let's say it passes from 2, so the equation would be y equals to 2. All right, so these are the two things that you need to know for now. Now, what about this vertical line? Okay, this, for this line, this time I have written down in the question, I've written down the equation myself. So the equation is y equals to x. Now what we need to do? Now we need to ask questions from ourselves, like simpler questions for ourselves. Okay, now we need to ask simple questions to ourselves. That is this region greater than, or is this region, like let's suppose for this line, for a line in green. Okay, so I'm gonna ask myself a question: is this region above or lower than this line? So what would be the answer? Is this region R above or lower than this line? So what's the answer? Can anyone tell me? Guys, let's make it fun, let's make it interactive. I would really appreciate your replies in the comment box below. So yeah, is this region R above or lower than the line y equals to x? Let's make it fun, guys. Come on, comment your thoughts. Hello, guys. Can you reply if this region is greater or lower than this line? All right. So far, what I've seen is that this region, okay, this region R is above this line, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write down an equality that y is greater than x. If it were lower than this line, I would have said y is lesser than x. Okay, but as of now, this region is greater than this line or above this line, so I'm gonna go with y is greater than x. All right, similarly for this line for y equals to 2. Now just tell me if this region R is below or above the line y equals to 2. It is below, right? So we're gonna write y is lesser than 2. Okay, and now for this region, this vertical line x equals to 0, can anyone tell me if my region R is before or after the line? Okay, so if it is before the line, it's going to be lesser than. If it is after the line, it's going to be x is greater than 0. Okay, so I hope that the answer of this would be that these three inequalities confines the region R. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, right? I hope you understand this question by now, right? Now let's do a couple of more. Okay, so now if I have an equation, if I have an equation, okay, so now if I have an equation like this, let's say I have an equation like this. Okay, and I have an equation like this. Okay, and then another one is this. Right, now my region is this. Now can you tell me the three inequalities, the equation of three inequalities which confines the region R? Can anyone tell me? All right, so I have said, now in the question below you are given with just one inequality, which is y is less than y is equals to, you are given with one equation. So the equation for this line is y equals to 2x. All right, 2x plus 1. Okay, now you're given with this question. All right, now what you need is you need to find me an answer for three inequalities. All right, so you need to identify first the equation of this line, the equation of this line. Okay, so what's the equation for this line? What's the equation for this line? Okay, as I've told you, it's a horizontal line. The equation of this line would be, now what's the equation of this line, yellow line? So just to give you a hint, I have just shown you. Okay, so the equation of this line would be y equals to 1. All right, and now what's the equation of this line? It's a vertical line, so the equation of this line would be x equals to 5. All right, because it's crossing 5 over here, right? And yeah, so this is the region. Now we need to ask ourselves three simple questions. So for this equation, I'm gonna ask if my region is below or above this line. So it's below this line, so the inequality would become y is less than 2x plus 1. All right, now if I say what's if my region is above or below this line, so my region is above this line, so I'm going to say y is greater than 1. Now for this line, I'm going to ask if my region is before or after this line. So my region is before this line, so I'm going to say x is less than 5. I hope now it's clear to everyone. If there's any questions, feel free to ask me, right, and we shall discuss this. I hope everything's clear to you guys. All right, now let's move on and do some other questions. All right, now, okay, so let me just ask you a couple of questions. Now if I give you a graph like this, I give you a graph like this, and I make a straight line, I make a straight line like this. Okay, now the equation of this line is y equals to x plus y equals to 3x plus 1. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you to shade a region, which shows, or maybe the question is that give, give the inequality for this region. Okay, so give the inequality for this region. So what's the inequality for this region? Can anyone inform, tell me? Okay, so what's the inequality for this region is, I'm gonna ask myself if this region is greater than this equation or not. So this is greater than this, so we're gonna write y is greater than 3x plus 1. So that's how simple the graphs of the linear inequalities are. All right, so don't worry about it, it's very simple. If you guys still does not understand this, feel free to ask me and I'll inform you. All right, now let's move on to some other questions. Okay, so right now I have this question, and I hope one of you can, all of you can help me simplify this. Okay, so the question goes like, x plus y is greater than 4 and 2x minus y is less than 1. So what do we do? Right, so what do we do? Can anyone inform me, what do I do? What should be the next step? Alright, so that equation was just an example, okay? So that equation was not an accurate equation, obviously. I was just drawing it to show you how to do it, okay? And I hope it got clarified now. Now, to this question, what do I do with this question? How do I solve it? Okay, so now first I simplify the first part of the equation. I use my simultaneous processes that I taught you the other day, right? So it's going to be x plus y is greater than 4, comma, right? This is one equation. All right, so this is one equation, and now the other equation is 2x minus y is less than 0. Okay, this is the second equation. Right, so what do we do? First make this a subject, right? First make this a subject, but instead of an inequality, we're going to use equals to sign. Okay, so it's going to be x plus y is equals to 4, and now the subject would be y equals to 4 minus x. So this becomes the third equation, right? And now we're going to substitute this into the second equation. It's going to be 2x minus 4 minus x, all right, is less than 0. So it's going to be 2x, right, minus 4 plus x is less than 0. So it becomes 3x minus 4 is less than 0. So x equals to 4 divided by 3, right? So that's the inequality I was looking for, right? And now what do I do in order to find out the value of y? What do I do in order to find out the value of y? So what I do is I place my answer. Okay, so I place my answer back into the equation. Okay, this equation, and find out the value of y. this equation, find out the value of y. So if I place this number here, so it's going to give me 0, right? And now if I needed to plot these lines, okay, if I needed to plot these lines and show them graphically, let's show them graphically. So what would be the graph of this line would be? Okay, so now if I copy the graph over here, okay, now x plus y is greater than 4. How do I draw this graph? Okay, so how do I draw this graph? If x plus y is greater than equals to 4, so now if I have a value of x plus y equals to 4, let's take this. Okay, if y is equals to 0, then the value of x would be what? Then the value of x would be, I place 0 over here instead of y, and I will get x equals to 4, right? And if x equals to 0, then I'll get y equals to 4. Okay, so I have two coordinates now, 0 comma 4, right? Oh, sorry, 4 comma 0, 4 comma 0, and 0 comma 4. Okay, so 0 comma 4 and 4 comma 0. So this is the line I'm getting. Okay, so this is the line I'm getting, right? And now for the other line, what I'm going to do is, the other line is 2x minus y is less than 0. Okay, so now what's the difference between less than equals to and equals to and less than? Okay, so when I say it's less than equals to, that means I make a prominent line. If I say it's less than, if I say that's less than, I make a dotted line. I will make a dotted line. So let's see how. Now if I place y equals to 0 in this equation, what's the value of x that I'm getting? I'm going to get x equals to 0 as well, right? Now if I place x as 0, okay, so sorry, if I place x as 1, so what's the y that I will get? I will get 2x minus y is equals to 0. Okay, so now if I substitute x equals to 1 in this equation, what will I do? Okay, so it will become 2 minus y, and now 2 is going to move to the other side. It will become y equals to 2. Okay, so now I have two coordinates, 0 comma 0 and 1 comma 2. Okay, so now I plot these two coordinates, 1 comma 2. Okay, and now I draw a straight line over it. So this is the line. Now what do I do? I now have two regions. All right, I now have two regions, and if I solve it, um, okay, so if I now solve it, so which one is which region, right? They said that this region was greater than 4, so that means all of these, all of this is included, right? And they said that this region, this line, which is this one, which is this one, okay, so they said that it's less than 0. So it's less than 0 means i'm gonna I'm gonna take, so let's simplify this equation first. Okay, so this equation would become what? Y equals to y would go to the other side, so it's going to be y is greater than 2x, right? So this whole region would be apart as well. So what's the solution to this? The solution to this would be only those parts where both of these lines exist. So this is the solution to the inequalities. Okay, I hope you understand. Is there anyone who doesn't understand this? Let me just show you in a much cleaner graph what does it look like and what would be the solution of this. Okay, so I have a solution right here. Okay, so this is the solution All right, so what does it say it means? It means that this is the region, this right now, right here is the region that includes both of the inequalities. And you see how they've drawn a dotted line over here, because this this equation said that 2x minus y is less than 0, not less than equals to. That is why they have drawn a dotted line over it. If it were a proper, like, less than equals to equation, it would have been a straight line, okay, not a dotted one. So I hope this thing is clear now, right? Is there any question? Feel free to ask me. So the most common type of questions, let's do some of the most common type of questions that are very popular in GCSE. It's this one. Okay. So let's give it a try once again. Okay. Yeah. So they have asked us to find the range of values that satisfies the inequality negative 5 is less than 2x minus 3 is less than 10. All right, so what's going to be the value? Okay, what's going to be the range of x? So what will we do? Can anyone answer me? What will we do? What we're going to make is, we're going to take the first two parts and make them like solve them, and then we're going to do the other two parts. So the answer would be negative 5 is less than 2x minus 3. All right, we'll find the value of x through it. We're going to move my negative 3 to the other side. It's going to become positive 3, right? And is less than 2x. So the value of x would be negative 2 divided by 2 is less than x, right? So x is greater than negative 1. Do you understand this, right? Now to solve this part, it's going to become 2x minus 3, okay, is less than 10. Now 3 is going to go to the other side. It's going to become x is less than 10 over. All right, so x is less than 10 plus 3. All right, so it's going to be 13 divided by 2. So x is less than 13 divided by 2, and x is greater than negative 1. So to write it down, it would be x is greater than negative 1, and x is lesser than negative 13 divided by 2. So this is how we write this. Okay, so I hope now everything is clear in terms of inequalities, right? Or do you have any other questions? Now let's move on to another topic, which is called simultaneous equations. All right, so now what is simultaneous equations? All right, so what is simultaneous equations? Simultaneous equations means that here we're going to solve two equations side by side. All right, now there are two methods to follow when we talk about simultaneous equation. There are two equations to follow when we talk about simultaneous equation. One method is called substitution, okay, and another method is called elimination. It's called elimination. There is another option which is called graphical, but there are very few questions in GCSE exams of this, but I'll still explain it. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now let's talk about substitution first, right? Now let's talk about substitution first. In substitution, what we do is, let's suppose that we have two equations. We have one equation as y plus x equals to 4, and another equation as 2y plus 3x equals to 7. All right, now we need to find out the values. So what basically elimination and solving simultaneous equations means, that this line will have on the graph, it will have a separate line, right? And now this line will have a separate line as well. This line might have a separate line as well. So the point where these two lines intersect, right, we need to find the value of x and y for that point. Okay, I hope you understand the concept of substitution, the concept of simultaneous solving simultaneous equations. So now what we're going to do is, we're going to take, mark it as equation 1 and mark it as equation 2. All right, so let's make one variable. How many variables are there? So there are two variables. One thing to notice is that the number of variables tell us how many number of equations we require to solve it. So in case that there are three variables, okay, let's say that there's three variables plus z equals to 4, right? We cannot solve this until we have three equations that includes all of these variables. All right, so the number of variables tell us the number of equations we need in order to solve it. So it's two variables, we require two equations. Now we have two equations. So what's the first step? The first step would be to make one of these two variables a subject. All right, so let's take y as a subject and let's move everything away from y. So it will become 4 minus x, right? Let's mark it as equation number 3. All right, now we're going to write substituting equation 3 in equation 2. All right, so now in place of y in equation number 2, we're going to write this. Okay, because y equals to 4 minus x, right? Y is equals to 4 minus x. So what we're going to do, 2 multiplied by 4 minus x plus 3x equals to 7. All right, so what would be the answer? 2 multiplied by 4, it will become 8, minus 2x plus 3x equals to 7, right? So 8 is going to go to the other side and this will become x equals to 7 minus 8. And now the value of x is -1. So we will place this value back into our equation number 3. Okay, so the equation would be y equals to 4 minus x, right? So what's the value of y? The value of y would be 4 minus 1. All right, so the final would be 4 plus 1, and the value of y would be 5. So the coordinate where both of these lines intersect with each other, there are -1 comma 5. I hope you understand this. Is there anyone who does not understand this? Please feel free to ask me. Now quickly, is there anyone who does not understand this topic? It's pretty simple, right? Now let's come on and do some of the questions. All right, so I found some of the questions. Now we're going to do some of them together. All right, but note them down as the rest of them would be the homework to you. All right, we'll have another class in approximately Wednesday, on Wednesday. right? So we're gonna learn some of them there. I'm gonna ask you the answers to some of them, right? We'll do the first two, and the rest three would be your task. All right. Now to the first part. This is home task. You're gonna do yourself. All right. But just using substitution. Do not use elimination because we're gonna learn elimination in the next class. All right. So the first question is 2x is 2x plus equals to 13, right? So what is it? The other equation is 2x plus y equals to 7. So what's the first step that we're gonna take? All right, this is equation 1, this is equation 2. Now what's the first step? Come on, quickly. What's the first step? We're gonna make we're going to take any one of these equations and make one variable the subject. So it's easier to make subject in this equation. All right, so we're going to take this equation 2x plus y equals to 7, right? We're going to make y the subject, so we're going to move this to the other side. It's going to become y equals to 7 minus 2x, right? So let's mark it as equation number 3. All right, now we're going to place it into substitute it in equation number 1. Why are we not substituting it in equation number 2, right? Why are we not substituting it in equation number 2? Faster fingers, guys. Come on, quickly. We cannot substitute it in equation number 2 because that's the equation from where equation number 3 is derived. All right, so we cannot substitute it back to the same equation, right? We're going to get 0 that way, right? So we're going to substitute in equation number 1. So the equation number 1 goes like 2x plus 3y, and now in place of y we're going to write this. Okay, so it becomes 7 minus 2x equals to 13, right? So now to simplify this, it's going to become 2x plus 3 times 7 is 21, right? And now 3 multiplied by negative 2x, it will become negative 6x equals to 13. All right, now 13 is going to come to this side, right? It's going to become 21 minus 13, and now negative 6 is going to go to the other side to become positive 6 minus 2x. Okay, now this will become 21 minus 13. 21, what's the value of 21 minus 13? Quickly, it's 8, right? So we're gonna write 8 over here, 8 over here, and this will become 4x. So 4x equals to 8. Now what's the value of x? X equals to 2. All right, great. So now we're gonna substitute it back to the equation we formed. Okay, so the equation is y equals to 7 plus, or 7 minus 2x. 7 minus 2x, right? In place of x we're gonna write 2. It's going to become 7 minus 2 times 2. It will become 7 minus 4, right? So it's going to become 3, right? So the coordinates are 2 comma 3, right? And now if we simplify this question, this is going to be the last question of this evening. So if there's anything that you do not understand, kindly write it in the chat so we can answer it before the live ends. All right, you can ask your questions while I'm doing this question. Okay, you can ask your questions while I'm doing this question. All right, so question number 2, it says 3x plus 3y equals to 18. All right, equals to 18. So that's equation 1. All right, so equation 2 is 5x plus 3y equals to 28. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make one equation the variable, one variable of any one equation. So let's take this first equation. All right, it's going to be 3x plus 3y equals to 18. Okay, so now we're gonna make any one of the variables a subject. Let's take y as subject. So let's move 3x to the other side. Okay, so it will become 3y equals to 18 minus 3x, right? And now we're gonna move 3 to the denominator. It's going to become 18 minus 3x divided by 3. Can this side of the equation, can it be simplified? Yes, it can be simplified. How? By taking 3 up common in the numerator. So it will become 6 minus x, okay, and 3. So 3 is divided by 3 over here from numerator and denominator. So the final value would be 6 minus x. All right, y equals to 6 minus x. So that's our third equation. So that's our third equation, right? Now we're going to substitute it back to equation number 2. All right, so if we substitute this back in question number 2, the equation is, okay, so this is the equation. So this is the equation, right? We're going to place this value, the value of y in this equation. So 5x plus 3 times 6 minus x equals to 28, right? So it becomes 5x plus 3 times 6 becomes 18, right? And 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by negative x becomes negative 3x equals to 28. All right, so 5x minus 3x, it becomes 2x. Now 18 is going to go to the other side, and it will become 28 minus 18, right? So the value of x would be 10 divided by 2, and hence 5. Now if we need to find out the value of y, we're going to write x equals to 5 in this equation. So y becomes 6 minus 5, and the final answer would be 1. So what are the coordinates? The coordinates would be 5 comma 1. All right, so this was another example which I just showed you. All right, so tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to do, I'm going to tell you how to solve very quickly. We're going to go through the elimination process, all right, to solve the simultaneous equations using elimination as well as using graphs. All right, and then we're going to move to the uh, and then we're going to move to the other function. We're going to move to the other topic, which is functions and graphs. So functions, in the function, somebody asked me today if we're going to learn about derivatives of a function or inverse of a function. So that we're going to do tomorrow. So tune in, not tomorrow, on Wednesday. Yeah, on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Or 4 p.m. UTC. All right, so tune in for on Wednesday, and we will be doing functions as well as of two other methods of simultaneous equations. Now just remember that your task for today is doing these 3 questions yourself, and check those answers, write down those answers, give them back to me on Friday, and we'll see it. Okay, so is there any question, that some anything that you did not understand in today's class? So the next class is on Friday, so tune in at 4 p.m. All right, and we're gonna do all of these things, right? So where can I find the question? So the questions are written over here, just copy them. All right, um and you're good to go. All right, so that's it for today. Now, is there any other question apart from where can I find the question? So it's live on the screen right now. Just take a screenshot of these and solve them using substitution method. All right. All right. Perfect. So have a great evening, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.